every single person deals with their mental health differently, and they just need to be given the resources to do that. Loads of different things work for different people. In my case, it was baking. I just bake in the middle of the night. Dad would wake up and be like, why is there muffins downstairs? What's going on?
This is why you've been getting fatter, Joe.
How can you not even get a foot out of the bed? Like, what are you doing? Like, why can't you even have a shower? Why can't you even brush your teeth? Ew, that's disgusting. It's like, okay, to you it seems disgusting, but to someone experiencing like really bad like depression or anxiety, and I submitted it to, you know, a program called BBC Introducing, wasn't expecting anything from it.
Inspiration Nation, hello, Lee Kemp here again for another week on the podcast, as always with my somewhat good friends Ryan Boniface and Joe Noya. How are we both, guys?
Yeah, not bad, thank you.
You'll see on the YouTube this week that Joe is supporting the lockdown haircut of a number 2 all over, looking very, very stylish.
Thanks, Lee.
The Brexit means Brexit shop.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for listening, downloading. Of course, we're on YouTube across all podcast platforms, social media at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN, and Joe is Jose Noya, Inspiration Nation on pretty much every platform you can think of: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, MySpace, Bebo. He's on them all. He's everywhere. So sign up and get Joe, catch him on his daily videos for that great bit of inspiration. You're still TikToking as well, Joe.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention MySpace for a minute, unless you did say MySpace.
I did MySpace. It's good to see you keeping up. So this is where we normally say, Joe, what we're talking about this week. However, Joe, I'd like you to introduce this week's guest for us.
Well, I'd like to introduce my daughter, Meg Noya, who's back for a second revisit on the podcast. And we know back up. What episode was it, guys? Was it in 19?
It was number 12 back on, I think, 30. Close enough, Joe. It was in this. It's roughly the same time. Number 12, but it was on the 19th. No, it wasn't even on 19th. It was in 2019. That's close enough. 30th of May, 2019. So nearly 2 years ago now. And we're dropping in for a follow-up interview. So how are you doing, Meg? Glad to be back on the show. Oh, you've muted yourself. The classic Zoom phrase of 2020.
Obviously, gotta be. Sorry, I'm very happy to be here. I feel very privileged right now. This is fabulous. Very excited to be back.
I'm very glad to hear it. So obviously we caught up with you back, I say, a couple of years ago. You came on, gave a fantastic interview and talked really openly about your own struggles with anxiety at the time, how you're doing with things. It was a really, really well received show. Anyone who hasn't heard it, encourage them to go back in the archive. Again, look for episode number 12. So to start us off, how have you been for the last 2 years since that interview?
I say I've been way better, considering even considering the lockdown, to be honest. But I think all things considered, things to do with anxiety have definitely been less prominent in my life. I think I've been more confident to do a lot of things that I probably would never have done in 2019. But I'm in a much better place now, with all that I'm doing, like to keep myself occupied, things like that. But I've taken up loads of like new skills and new things to keep my mind focused, whereas back then I didn't really have much focus and much drive, which probably didn't help at all. But doing way better now.
That's really good. Very, very good to hear. So what are some of those things you've been doing in the last couple of years then to give yourself a bit more focus?
I mean, one, I finished school, which was a saving grace. That place was hell. And then I had that long ass summer, which was great, refresh. And then I started obviously a new course at college, which has been amazing. New people, new environment, just a new start, which I think is always great. Especially like restarting, just pressing the reset button, I think is always good for anyone's mental health. Because otherwise you get caught up in like your own mind, you know, with everything else that's going on. So it was a good restart, new people, kind of like a new life, leaving the old one behind, new start. That's how I treated it anyway. And I think the mindset I went in with to college was much better than the one that I left with at my previous school.
That's really good. And I think it's especially I suppose for younger people that are listening or watching this, is, and I know it myself, and Ryan remember, Joe's probably too long ago to remember now, but when you're at school, it's like that is the be all and end all, and the people there, and you feel like whoever you're defined as in or how it is how things are going to be forever. And I certainly remember that. School wasn't the greatest time either, I think, for me, on the whole popularity scale and that sort of stuff. I had a number of friends and stuff like that, but I think a lot of people always feel like they're the outsider at school. But once you've left, that's it. It's behind. It's any of that stuff doesn't matter whatsoever. And it sounds like you really, once you moved on, you really embraced that then in terms of college and how that went. And did you find that a better experience for yourself then?
Yeah, I think it took me a while to understand is that like school is just not relevant. It's just at all in anyone's life. And I think, but when you're in it, it's so hard to understand that. Like there's so many people that are my friends now still, but they're just so much better off like not being there, because you feel so trapped because you're going to the same place for like I don't know how many years, like 5-6 years of your life. And you're with the same people every single day, and you just get annoyed and anxious and just, and now going to college, like that whole thing is like, it's just more independence really. Like I get the train to college, new people, new environment. I just think it just gave you more independence, and I think that kind of forced me out of my comfort zone in the sense of, oh, not the same place anymore, new place, new people. I actually need to do this. I can't be coddled like in the corner. Like I've really got to like get out and do it myself, which I probably never would have done in 2019, like at all. Hence why I like stayed off school for like ages, because I was like, I'm not doing that. But now I kind of have to, because it's like my education, like music is kind of my life. So I have to do it if I want that outcome.
I think what you said like it was good to get a reset and change of like focus and stuff, but it's goals as well. Like you mentioned it there as well. Like you have to get up and go to the same place for 5-6 years and do the same thing and be surrounded by the same people and be hoarded in the same space, whilst you're also developing who you are as a person. Like the person you started at 11 when you went there is an entirely different person to the person you would have left with at 16, 17, depending on your age, obviously. But I think I definitely remember feeling like the entire world revolved around passing your GCSEs, but there was no real forethought about what happens afterwards until you're halfway through the last year and they're like, oh, life exists after this. And you're like, oh, okay. But then getting out of it and getting grades to get to college like you have, or to further higher education or whatever it's called these days, is just the start. Then everything changes, and as you say, you get new goals, new set of focus. You get the reset to kind of start again.
You get like a better perspective on everything. Like you said, it's the be all and end all when you're there like at school, but it's just really not.
It's not it. People will tell you it's the most important thing in the world, but as long as you get what you need to get to do the next step, then that's what it's there for sure.
God, I've not thought about GCSEs for a long time. I was a very comfortable straight C student, I think, when I came out of my GCSEs.
You must have been close to doing O levels at your age.
Anyway, they were way before my time.
Were they? I don't know.
They probably were right for you though, Joe, weren't they? Was it O levels?
I hate to say this.
It was, wasn't it?
No, it was.
Was it even before O levels?
Of the very first year to take the GCSE with a very
you were like the guinea pig generation.
Yeah, remember they just got rid of O levels and we were just taking in the GCSE, so we were the very first. So that's where it came from me.
I would do the game of what year that was, but as I'm like number 2 on the age list here, I think we'll sidestep that one completely. It won't work out as well for me as it normally does. But there was a subject you brought up a while ago, Joe, that we talked about, which was, and I'll probably quote it wrong, but it was that, was it like your history doesn't define you, or you're not your stories? That was it, which I think this is what this reminds me of exactly, is whoever you are, you can reinvent that and you can change it and you can move on. You don't have to be bound to what those things are or were in the past, or things that have happened. And again, that moving on from school and into college, and going in with a different mindset and a different approach sounds completely like that you're comfortable to shed whatever happened in the past rather than be dragged back by it, which is the really positive message. I think it sounds really good.
So I just had just
Joe.
about the labels. You know, we're not labels, and sometimes you have to unbrand yourself. And it's really interesting because I watched something this morning about that, where people will give you a label like your mum and dad might expect some things from you, or people might expect something, and you can be sort of put in a little bit of a box or whatever. You don't have to accept any of that. You'll only be accepted if you accept it. And I think it's really important around you can change at any point in your life, whatever it is, you can change. And so I just wanted to sort of say that. But yeah, sorry, carry on. Yeah, you're going to continue.
That's right. I know. You know, I get those labels all the time. I mean, superstar, inspirational, God. It's really tough to live with those things. So last time we spoke. Oh no, we've lost it now. We need to regroup on that.
On there.
I was going to do the modesty joke, but I fluffed it last time I did it on the podcast, so we'll just move on from that. When we spoke last time, again back a couple of years ago, you gave a number of tips to people on things to do with anxiety if people are struggling, communication being the key thing at the time that you talked about, and being able to talk about it. And you also mentioned a couple of charities that you were really keen to promote. Did you do any more around supporting those charities or supported by them or any work with them since we last spoke?
I did. So I was in that time. So within the 2 years, I the charity Young Minds. I ended up applying for like and like doing I can't remember what the role was called. It was sort of like not like a social media kind of person, but you'd review things for them, or like if they'd send you like online, they'd send you like an email going, can you read through all this and see what you think, what can we improve, this, that and the other. And there was like an app for it as well, I think. But I did that for like a while. It's basically just to get young people's opinions on how they can better address young people and their mental health, because I feel like charities that are specifically directed at like the older generation's mental health, which is also equally as important, but obviously it's a different audience, it's a different market, so you can't just address mental health as one, because it's obviously all divided into like age groups or different conditions, things like that. But they just wanted to get specifically like a young person's perspective on it, which I still think now is kind of it's great that they're doing it, but I think way more energy needs to be put into that, like still. But it was a good opportunity, and I did that for about a year. But then I haven't really I'm doing something for Mind at the moment, where it's like a similar thing, like just looking at their website, giving feedback and stuff like that, and them just sending you like weekly updates, but nothing like groundbreaking, but still all the little things really do help people. And
that's good, and they're the things that matter, and just keeping involved and supporting it. I mean, again, I think from my perspective of the world, I think the last 2 years has seen mental health become a much more prevalent conversation than I think it was a few years ago. I think I remember, I don't know if I was speaking with Joe separately after we did the interview, but was saying that, you know, especially anxiety just wasn't something that was really addressed. It was almost like a silent problem that people just had to get on with. And I think certainly from what I've seen, there's a lot more awareness about it, a lot more discussion. Certainly in the workplace, I think there's a lot more awareness of it as well. But I don't know if from your perspective, I mean, you touched on it there and said that there needs to be more done. Do you think that's got better from your view, or do you think there's still more that needs to be done?
I think there's way more that needs to be done. I don't think we can ever be satisfied with what they're doing. I don't think any company, workplace or like school environment, educational environment, a university, whatever, I don't think there will ever be a time. I don't really want there to be a time where they can just sit there and be like, yeah, our care is fine. I think there always needs to be they always need to be looking at it to improve it, because every single person deals with their mental health differently, and they just need to be given the resources to do that. I think something also is I think the reason why it's being talked more about it now is because of the current situation with like lockdowns and things like that. I think like everyone has been forced to like be like, okay, mental health does actually matter. Like the government have actually been forced to look at it, because the rates of like mental health in young people and just in general has skyrocketed because of this lockdown, because there's not this. And so like health services, not just because of COVID, but because of mental health as well, like they just can't deal with it. And so the government have kind of been forced to actually take a look at it and be like, okay, maybe we do have to deal with this, which finally finally they're actually doing something. But it's never going to be enough. And when it feels like enough, that's when we should, push on it even more, because the more help you can get, the better. Especially for someone that was in, like, someone like me that was in my situation 2 years ago. Like, it's really something I found is, like, it's so hard to get, like, professional care. Like, it's easy enough to get care, like, online, like talking to a counselor online, like Childline or something like that, but it's so difficult to get, like, professional care through NHS or whatever without paying for it. So difficult, on a waiting list for like 3 years. Like, it's mad. And that just really needs to change, but hopefully it will. But people just need to keep pushing on it. And that's in my opinion, that's one good thing that's come of the lockdown, is we've been forced to actually look at the mental health crisis that we're
the awareness of it and action to be taken. And do you think, and I was leading to a question I'm going to address to everyone on here as well, is do you think lockdown has forced people to look at their own mental health more? And I suppose linked to that question is, how have you found coping with the lockdown, and has it been a good thing or a bad thing to kind of deal with the changes for you?
I mean, at first, weirdly, literally the week we went into lockdown, the week before I was in New York, which was mad, and then the day I came back, we went into lockdown, which was absolutely mental. So I went from being around so many people, like in Times Square, to suddenly being at home, like not on my own with my family, but isolated in that environment, not being at college, nothing, like instantly. But it was the same for everyone. Like, and I think everyone had the thought, like, I know me and my friends at college, like, oh, we'll be off for like 4 weeks, we'll be back. And then when we weren't back until the next like academic year, it was like, okay. And I think that, like, the first first couple months were okay, because it was like the novelty was like, oh, all this time off. And then it kind of kicked in that you just couldn't do anything. You just couldn't go out anywhere. The most exciting thing to do in your day was to go to Tesco's, like. And I think that was when it got really hard, and I did struggle with it, like, a lot. And it was hard, because in a way I felt like disappointed in myself, because I was like, oh, I've come all this way, and then it's just like gone, hit rock bottom again. But I also think that this is an unusual situation. This isn't something that happens every day. And I think that's what you got to give yourself credit for, is like, this is the best that I'm dealing with it in this situation. This situation doesn't happen every day. We're in a global pandemic. And so that's why you got to cut yourself some slack and be like, I think everyone's in the same boat here. But that kind of makes you feel less alone. But I did struggle with it a lot. But then again, found ways to kind of cope with it, which some helped, some didn't, depending on the mood I was in. But it's okay that some things work and some things don't work, because, you feel different every day.
And I think that's a good thing to share, because there's a lot of people quite rightly talking about the things they've done that have helped them, but actually there are things that don't. And I think it's quite good to say that sometimes things don't work, and actually you then move on and you carry on to whatever the next thing is.
Definitely. I think when people are like, oh, look at all these things, breathing's literally a magic wand. Like, I wanted to tell the amount of people that told me that to shut up, because I can't stand it. People go, just breathe through it, it's fine. It's like, breathing doesn't cure your mental health. Like, come off it. Like, everything, loads of different things work for different people. In my case, it was baking. I just bake in the middle of the night. Dad would wake up and be like, why is there muffins downstairs? What's going on?
This is why you've been getting fatter, Joe.
Everyone does things that helps them, and baking was mine. But I think it's good to find the thing that helps you, you know what I mean? Breathing doesn't work for everyone.
No, absolutely. And we've gone, and rather than put words in your mouth, I address it, because how's the lockdown the last year been for you, Ryan, in that way of, because I know initially it was like, oh, I get to stay at home now, it's great, but has that been the way the whole way through?
I would class myself, and I think we've spoken about it before, but I'd class myself as like an extroverted introvert. Like, I like being by myself, but I also like other people's company and socializing. I think the best part of my personality comes out when I'm around people and amongst people. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that, but their opinion's invalid. So I have generally been okay. There's been a lot of like self-reflection over the last year, and I think you asked an earlier question where you said you can't, like, mental health has kind of developed for a lot of people and their thought processes over the last couple of years. I think the last 12 months has been massive because in some instance, pretty much everyone would have suffered some element of it. Not being able to go out and see people, see family members. There could be some extremes where people have lost people in their households and their families because of it. And there'll be other, to the other end of the scale where, kind of like me, I just plod along and kind of get on with it. I've been quite lucky in that aspect. But I think what people have come to realize over the last 12 months is like where they don't have the time to constantly be on their feet, think about work, think about their families, what they're doing for dinner, what social event am I attending this weekend, where am I going out, am I drinking, do I have the money for it? It's stop. The only thing that's left in your head is what's there left to watch on Netflix and how do I feel? I think for a lot of people it feels like that. And as kind of Megan suggested, people have different ways of coping with things, and I pretty much log off work at 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, depending on the day and what you're making me do, and then just turn on the computer game.
7, that never happens. 4 o'clock, just say 4 o'clock.
No, that is outrageous. I'm not having that. But you finish work and then I turn on the computer game. I go and talk to my mates and we just mess about for a few hours. I get dinner, mess about for a little bit longer, and then I'll go to bed and watch a film or some Netflix and then rinse and repeat. I think I spoke the other week that things are starting to get really repetitive now, and I would like some kind of some change of pace. In terms of work, I've never wanted to work from home. Again, for the same reason that I think I want to socialize with people, is that I think I'm my best person when I'm around others, but also I feel like getting up and going to work starts the routine of the day. Like I've developed a temporary routine of getting up and having a shower and getting online, whatever, which is what I would do normally if I were in the office. But I think the whole ironing a shirt, getting dressed, getting in your car, making your packed lunch or whatever, and driving to work, that is what for me would regiment my day and start it off. And then as soon as I pull up, I could mentally prep myself for the day. Whereas now it's get up, have a shower, get dressed, sit here, log in, work. That's it. You're at work. And it's been really hard to kind of go from 0 to 100. Whereas I found like the car travel to and from work, or the travel to and from work, prepped me for the day anyway. It allowed me to think about what have I got on today, what's happening today, what do I need to sort out, and then I was mentally prepared to go. So yeah, for me it's been okay. I think I've definitely been one of the luckier people, but I've used that time to start supporting other people around me, like my friends and people that I check in with a lot more now. So yeah, I'd like to think I'm coming out the other side of it a bit better.
And Joe, you're in the same house as Meg. So how have you found the last 12 months?
Well, Meg's
just nod or shake your head whether he's lying as we go through this.
So I still get up super early. So that's mine.
You're a psychopath.
So they know I get up early to do all my videos and stuff like that. Makes it still asleep. So yeah, so my routine's a bit like Ryan was saying. The routine, I created that routine over 3 years ago now, because of the videos, and it's done me in good stead. It's done me in good stead. I really do, I have that, like Ryan said, I used to bump into my day. I don't do that anymore. So I'm up. I've been getting up at 4:30 for the last couple of weeks. So I'm up 4 hours before I'm meant to start work.
Outrageous.
So, but actually, what I find is my energy levels are good as I go into work, because I'm halfway through my day. Like I've had 4 hours, but I feel I've caught up and I've done what I needed to do, mentally prepare, like you said, Ryan, right? That's all my mental preparation. So for me, the lockdown has been a really, like you said, self-reflection. For me, I felt I've actually got stronger over lockdown because I've seen it as an opportunity to reflect, to see, okay, how can I shape things? And I know people have found it tough, and I know Meg's has found it tough, but we've got through it. And Meg has come out the other side, and I'm really proud of her to do what she's done, especially with all the things she's doing, because we've had a tough time, and she'll know she's had a tough time. But she's been resilient. We've had some really difficult conversations, but they had to be had, and now, and Megs, you can say right or wrongly, I feel you're reaping the rewards of all that now. That you've had to face things which have been really difficult. You didn't want to face them, but you faced them, and now you I just see this. I don't know. It's a newer version of Meg. Right, I'm calling you Meg now because it's Meg.
That is my brand.
Exactly. I'll get told off later if I don't say it. Yeah, so it's the new version of Meg. So that's how I see it. But what's your view on it, Meg?
You just say Meg so enthusiastically now.
Meg.
Oh my god, I've got to say Meg now. Yeah, I think I definitely feel like right now, especially, there's so many things happening that is suddenly like, oh my god, things are actually happening for me now. And for a lot of the time, it's like when you work so hard to keep doing something, like especially in my music, you invest in all this time and or like all this money, like the amount of times I've had to like replace strings on my guitar to record a song, or keep re-downloading the Logic trial on my laptop because I can't afford to pay for it. It's like all these different things. I'm at the moment, obviously I'm studying theatre at college, which is not something I want to do anymore. But I'm still studying that at college. I'm still going to do that because I'm still, it's still a good education. But I feel every single like throughout the entire summer in the lockdown, it was like always working on music every single day, 24/7, writing new stuff, collaborating, like with my best friend, and like working off each other. I've learned so much, and now it's all suddenly coming together. I just feel like I've had to go through, like it's crap, like don't get me wrong, like all that stuff that I've had to fight through, but I feel like I've had to go through that to even be here, because it's not easy to like it's not easy to go through all that and come out the other end successful. Like it's hard, and anyone that has been through like that kind of similar, like really tough time will say the same thing. Like if they're still fighting and still doing it now, like that's an amazing achievement. And whenever you wake up every day, give yourself some credit for like putting a foot out the bed. Like, people that haven't necessarily been there before, it can be hard to imagine, how can you not even get a foot out the bed? Like, what are you doing? Like, why can't you even have a shower? Why can't you even brush your teeth? Ew, that's disgusting. It's like, okay, to you it seems disgusting, but to someone experiencing like really bad like depression or anxiety, like terrified to like get out of your bed, like what's going to happen, that can be really hard. And for anyone that's overcome that or is overcoming that, should be insanely proud of themselves. Like in 2019, I wouldn't even dream of getting the train to college on my own. Like, nah, that wasn't even in my mind. Like, nope, I'm not going anywhere on my own. Public transport, nope. And now I'm doing that, and it's like, I think in some way, I don't want to sit here and be like, I deserve this, but like I really do. I feel like I've really worked really hard for all the stuff that I'm doing now, and like the success that I'm getting from it now, and I'm getting such good responses from like my music and things like that, and it makes me feel like what I'm doing is worth it. Because when you don't get results from things, you feel like, oh, there's not really much, why am I doing this? But you've just really got to stick with it. But
I think that's such a good message. And this is part of what we like to do on the show. And for people, listening and watching, is it's not just spouting a load of theory at people. This is stuff that we put in practice and we live by. And sometimes it goes well and sometimes it doesn't go so well. Like my folly with running for about 4 weeks last summer. Because quite often all people see is when they see people doing well, they just see the success and they don't see the hard story it's gone through. And you've been on that whole spectrum, just like you talked a lot in the interview we did a couple of years ago. You said there's days where getting a foot out of bed is a victory, or in fact some days I presume you've had where you haven't even got as far as getting that foot out of bed and it's just giving up on the day. And that you've been through that, you've been in that place, you've lived that, but you've pushed through that. You've dedicated a lot of time to your music, from what you've been saying. It's a really good energy outlet. And at the other end of that success thing, which is a thing we want to promote and get people to listen and follow, and I'll let you say it. So I know actually, Joe, you messaged today about doing this for the show, and about half an hour before I saw a post you put on Instagram about this, which I just thought was amazing. But I won't steal your thunder, Meg. I'll let you say what's happening.
So I'll just start off by saying, well, I'm releasing like an EP, which is like 4 songs that I've been working on for the past 2 years, and that's going to be out on all major streaming platforms, anything you can find, Spotify, Apple Music, even the weird ones like Pandora and all those ones. You can find it literally on TikTok. It's a sound on TikTok and on Instagram. Fabulous. But yeah, my EP called Ethereal, and it's gonna be out the 2nd of April, which is awesome. But also I've literally finished mixing it the other day, and I submitted it to a program called BBC Introducing. Wasn't expecting anything from it, because usually you have to submit so many for the DJ to be like, yeah, okay, we'll play this on the show. And I got an email like an hour later going, yeah, we're gonna play your stuff. And I was like, bruh, like I was seriously like in shock. I was screaming. Dad will tell you, like the other day.
That was what was going on. I thought, what the hell?
I was on the phone, and I was like in a matter of words, which I'm not going to repeat now, but in a lot of words, I was just screaming, and like BBC, the biggest broadcasting service in the UK, in the south as well, like including Brighton. Like Brighton's like the center point for music in the south. The amount of gigs that they do all the time. Brighton is the place to be, and the fact that it's going to be played on like Brighton Radio, BBC Sussex, like one of my songs, is absolutely mad. And to think that a professional radio DJ has turned around and been like, yeah, actually I dig this song, is like the amount of songs they listen to every day, and to think mine has stuck out is like such an achievement. Like, oh, it was just amazing to receive that news. And then I got an email from the DJ herself, going, oh, tell me a bit about yourself. And I was like, oh my god, got to make a good impression, Jesus. But yeah, now that's being played on Wednesday, the 17th of March, but I don't know when this is out. But there's also a repeat on the Saturday, so my song's going to be played twice. Like, what?
It was absolutely fantastic. And this is where I say to people, the spectrum, you've been through a lot. You've got to this stage. I mean, I remember it's probably just over a year ago, Joe. I think you were here at InspirationNation Towers, and Meg, you phoned Joe because you got something. I think it was on YouTube maybe, or Instagram, where someone liked something you did and the numbers just started growing on it.
Yes, I remember that. It was one of my favorite artists. She'd liked and shared my cover of her song, and that was amazing as well.
And like I said, and then this is even bigger than that. And you said a bit, and I think it's an important message for everyone. You said you feel like because of what you've gone through, you deserve this, which I absolutely agree with. But it's not because of what you've gone through, like you get this in repayment for it. It's because of how hard you have worked to get through that. You've then made this happen for yourself. So you do absolutely deserve it. But because of the effort and the resilience and the hard work you've put in, the good days, the bad days, and all that's in between, I think that's a really important message for people to take away is it's okay to struggle, and people do struggle, and they do have fantastic days, and they have average days, and they have bad days, and they have days when they just give in. But that end of the spectrum doesn't define you, because you get stuff like this, and like that YouTube thing, was it true I mentioned it? I'm sure this is just another step on that journey, and it's not all just going to go up. You'll have up and down, but if you keep doing what you've been doing, and I really think that's the message to take away from everything you've been through in the last couple of years, it's that hard work does pay off if you commit to it. In fact, it's what, guys, we were talking about last week, wasn't it? Consistency is key, and you just keep doing it, doing what you love. And genuinely, I think it's really fantastic, and a a really positive message to give to everyone. I mean, me and Joe are too old to listen to Radio 1 now, but Ryan will listen to it and let us know how it is.
Thanks, Ryan.
No worries.
It's fantastic. Genuinely, really, really pleased for you. And we're really grateful for you coming on and doing this again and being so open about things again with us, because it's not always the easiest thing to do. So we genuinely appreciate that. And we'll
Thank you. Yeah.
catch up again in a couple of years if you're not too busy at Glastonbury or something like that.
Reading
Or
Festival,
you can get us in one or the other.
We do the podcast live from Glastonbury. That's what we're doing.
I don't know if I could.
Stage.
I don't know if I could picture these two at a festival.
That'd be a sight to see, that, Ryan, wouldn't it? That'd be a collection.
You'd be covered in sun cream, the pair of you, I'd have thought. Make sure you don't get sunburnt.
Ryan, seriously now, safety first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, my countdown timer is saying we've got a couple of minutes left. So I'm just doing a couple of quick plugs for the show. As always, thanks everyone for listening. We're on all those same platforms that Meg mentioned earlier. Mainstream and not so mainstream, such as Pandora and Overcast and whatever else in between. YouTube, just check out Jose Noya Inspiration. Each and every Tuesday we are live on Instagram as well. Just check out Jose Noya Inspiration on Instagram and you can watch us live 8:30 in UK, 3:30 Eastern time if you're out in the States, and then you can work out your other time zones in between that. Of course, check us out on social media at Listen to IN, Listen TOIN. Joe, again, Jose Noya Inspiration, daily content there to check out. And of course, we are at inspirationnation.org.uk for all your fabulous Inspiration Nation merchandise. Joe, stand up, give us a look at the hoodie.
Oh,
there we go. Jose, that was a weird kind of stand up he did there, but it worked. Hoodies, mugs, t-shirts, whatever you want, it's all over there. Of course, Meg, where are you on social media for people to check you out?
Meg_Noya on Instagram, Twitter, Meg Noya on YouTube, Meg Noya on Spotify, Apple Music. Meg Noya, easy to find, no one with my name, it's great.
Awesome, good branding there, we like it, and you got Joe on board with it as well, which is even better. And when again, do you know when are you on the radiogram?
17th of March, Wednesday 17th, and also the Saturday following.
Awesome, fantastic stuff. Again, thank you very much for coming on. I think, guys, unless there's anything else to add, we've got about a minute left for me to count us down. Oh, Joe's put his hand up. Oh no, he's getting ready to count us. He's getting ready for the sign off. I've fluffed it all up at the end. Thank you, everyone. Inspiration Nation. Catch you guys later.
What a conversation. What an amazing journey. Getting a song played on the radio. BBC introducing. Don't forget you can catch Meg Noya. All the links in the description below. Connect with her. Go get the music, go download it. It's amazing. So don't forget, you can catch all other episodes of the podcast right over here. You can watch them in full Technicolor. And also don't forget to subscribe, because that will tell you when another video goes live, and hit that bell because that will notify you. So you've been watching Inspiration Nation, and I'll see you over there.